Episode 27 of the Austin Stand-Up Comedy Podcast. I can't think of any athletes that wear the jersey number 27, but my knowledge of sports cuts off at about 1995. So if we're not talking about Isaiah Thomas, Sam Cassell, or Muggsy Bogues, or Dennis Eckersley, there's not a whole lot that I can offer to the conversation. What are you doing, Ryan? Why are you doing this podcast? I'm glad you asked, sir, who sounds remarkably similar to me. The whole point of this podcast is to talk about Austin stand-up comedians, what I like about them, what I remember about them, any funny, interesting stories I have, first impressions, in hopes to inject some positivity into the comedy scene while we all wait to get back out there in full force and start tearing things up. I'd like to talk about a couple comedians today. I'd like to talk about Andrew Murphy. I'd like to talk about Joey Ficken. And I'd like to talk about Espi Rivadeneira, I think is how you say it, who doesn't live here anymore, but was part of the scene before she left, so it's an honorary mention. There was one person that I reached out to and sent them the episode that I did about them, and they were like, "Why did you do this?" I was like, "Yeah, sorry. Well, I don't know what to say." But let's talk about them. Let's talk about these three Austin stand-up comedians. Andrew Murphy. Andrew I saw the first time I'd ever went to any set ever at Cap City. I think he had opened up for, I think it was Andrew Dismukes and Kyle Castillo, and then there might have been another guy on the set too. But yeah, so I saw him. And then it was really early on when I started. So I didn't realize, I thought Cap City was like, there was going to be this whole other realm of like elite comedians that could only perform there. And then I saw him and I thought he was super fucking good. And then like a couple nights later, he was on an open mic at Cherrywood. And I was like, holy shit, they're putting guys as good as him just go to open mics. I know it sounds like I'm gushing, but this is because I just had such limited knowledge of what was going on in stand-up comedy. But anyhow, yeah, he had a really good set at Cap. I mean, I've seen him a bunch of times since then at random places. He has a really funny abolition joke. I think maybe it's civil rights. Either way, it's funny. But he has some good stuff. He has some like, I don't know how to describe it really. It's very conversational, maybe is the word. I'm not sure. It seems very natural for him, which is pretty rare. You can always kind of see the moves with certain people. Most people you can, but with him it's a little tougher. So his stuff's really good. He also has a joke about wine. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that one's really good. But yeah, I don't know if I have any. I don't think I've really met him. I maybe gave him a what's up every once in a while, but that's about the extent of how much I know him. So don't have a whole lot of personal stories to share there. Sorry, I had a small stroke. But yeah, Andrew, I hope you're doing well. So let's talk about Joey Ficken. I didn't realize that I went to a set that Joey did at Baker Street, and one of my good friends just randomly appeared, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he was like, "What are you doing here?" Sounds like the Californians from SNL. But my buddy was there because he knew Joey from back home where they were both from, and I thought that was just, what a small world we live in there, huh? Oh yeah, sure, it's a small world, eh? But yeah, so Joe's one of the first comedians I've ever seen in Austin where you would get like, I would hear like belly laughter out of crowds. Like there's like, so one thing you'll see if you go to enough stand-up shows is you start to like kind of gauge how good somebody is based off there's like a feel to a certain kind of laughter from a full room. And like when you get like a belly laughter, like you can kind of feel the laughter. He was one of the first people I ever saw that did that, and I was like, holy shit, that's the kind of laughter that I want. So like, if you get a real trebly laughter, right? It's kind of thin. People aren't really committed to the laughter. I like the laugh that somebody can't help but contain. That's the kind of laughs that you want to go for, right? So it's a pursuit, but he had some pretty consistent jokes that got those kind of laughs. I know that the joke about dating is really funny. He has a couple other really good ones. I'm drawing blanks right now. His hobby joke is funny. But yeah, and I think I talked about it during the Joe Green episode. Is my favorite moment that he happened to be involved in was he had fell asleep at the back of Halcyon, and Joe called him out and said, "Everybody look at Joey. Joey's getting REM sleep right now." So shout out to Joe for that one, but also shout out to Joey because you're a funny dude, man. So hope you're doing well. All right, third comedian. I'm blasting through this, y'all. I've had one cup of coffee today, and I'm just fired up to the max. Let's talk about Espi. Espi, also potentially one of the top hardest working comedians that was in Austin. I think she moved to New York, and it looks like from her online presence, she's still working hard. But I would just see her materialize at sets all the time, and then disappear, and I'd go to the next set, and she'd be finishing a set there, and she just works really hard. She has a really funny joke about when she was a teacher and a kid came to school and she saw a bruise on his arm. That, I don't want to give it away, but that's a really funny joke that she has. Yeah, so the funny story I have about Espi is she opened at Lil Woodrow's when there was like not many people there. Clara was hosting that night and bought the pizza. This is the same night. And there were two women in the corner of the back of Lil Woodrow's. And Espi was doing her jokes, and she goes, well, I'm going to do it. And she engaged with them and was like, hey, where y'all from? And one of the girls goes, fucking Houston. And she goes, oh, okay. How did y'all get here? And she goes, we fucking drove. And then she was like, all right, well, they hate me. I'm done with them. But it was just so much hostility toward a brand new person that they had never met. You get those kind of weird interactions at comedy shows. I think that people think that because they're comedians, they're going to have tougher skin, which might be the case for the most part. But I don't know. I just thought that was a really funny interaction between the crowd that I saw. I think that's all I got. So shout out to you, SB. Hope you're doing well up there in Y. And to Andrew and Joey as well. Hope y'all are doing well. If you're a stand-up comedian and you've been performing in Austin, there's a good chance I'm going to talk about you. And if I haven't talked about you, or if I have talked about you, then you could search the YouTube channel and your name will probably come up. Otherwise, stay safe, stay healthy. Stand-up comedy will be back. And it looks like it's already coming back a little bit. If you're not a stand-up comedian, make sure to go out and catch a show. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great